I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
The Indianapolis Colts select Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida.
Richardson going to take off and run. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. The first career touchdown.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Rebounded by Toppin for Indiana. Nearly 3 minutes gone. 7-5 Pacers. Brown off the bounce. Connects on a three from the right edge. Boston looks to recapture the lead. Tatum for three off the screen. He missed it. Right side, Turner scrambles into the far corner to track down the rebound. It's Halliburton on the move. Into the forecourt, leaves it for Hield, and Hield hits a three from way out.
That's a beautiful look there. Fantastic play by Halliburton.
43 aside with Halliburton at the other end, giving to Nembhard, now taking it back, right edge against Pritchard. Center of the floor, left hand. Now he'll launch a long one and hit it. Down to a minute 52 left in the third. Right edge of the arc, Hauser gives to Holiday. He'll squeeze one off, missing a three. Weak side rebound, Mathurin. Up the floor, McConnell. Into the forecourt to the top of the circle. Veers to his left, picks up the dribble. Cornette blocked his jumper. Hield picked it up. Near side and hit a three. Both teams will be in the penalty from here on out. Bounce comes in, near sideline. Bruce Brown has it. He'll lob it back up top. Halliburton working off a Turner screen. Horford switches out. Halliburton bouncing and looking and launching and scoring! 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 And a foul! A three ball and a foul! Halliburton will inbound, 5 to shoot. And he will get it into the perimeter. Catch, shoot, bang! Three ball up top. Hield, and Indiana leads by 7. The crowd has worked itself into a frenzy with 52 seconds to play. White drives at the other end and throws it away. Halliburton has it. 46 seconds to play. Up the floor. Neesmith dunks. 9-point lead. I see the blackjack table. I see the roulette wheel. And I see Eddie Gill, the slot machines. 119-112 foul shots are good. Inbound is stolen. Hield will dribble out the clock, and the Pacers are headed for Las Vegas.
Mark Boyle with the fantastic call right there. That's exactly the tone that was necessary. I thought last night was awesome. And that is, and I know you're going to get that few and far between in regular season type of games, that atmosphere, but I'm talking about the results. And I understand that the Pacers will not be consistently yet ready for that level against, for example, the best team in the NBA. But being that competitive, being that focused, and honestly, defensively, 112 is such a tremendous win. And the one thing that I noticed last night, and I have said this all along, I don't know where the solution is. I don't know where they're going to find what is necessary to up any facet of their defense. Individually, collectively. But you know what? Last night, they did. Last night they did, and then still, I think it was either Greg Anthony mentioned this, and I know that Chris and Quinn have talked about it. If you can just try to, get closer, even if your scoring comes down a little bit, but you add some defensive stops, and Shaquille O'Neal talked about that last night too. Late defensive stops, even if you're scoring all those points, that can be enough. And last night, it was enough. You have the combination of Brown and Tatum going for 30-plus apiece. Tyrese Halliburton was absolutely fantastic, 26, 10, and 13. And the Pacers moving on to the semifinals of the first NBA in-season tournament. Vegas coming up on late Thursday afternoon. They await the winner of tonight's matchup with the Bucks and the Knicks. Welcome into the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We have a busy one for you today. I do want to talk a lot of basketball. There have been moments where I haven't been happy. And I thought that there should have been a better start. I have mentioned you have to find games that will make up for bad home losses like the Blazers or the Raptors or the Hornets or the Bulls. That would be one of those right there. That would be one of those against a team that beat you by 50 earlier this season. I just thought that was fantastic all the way around, and even more than just the game itself. You saw a re-energizing of a fan base. You saw those inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which was an incredible atmosphere. We're talking early December. That was great. So you had all that energy in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, but you also had people sending me stuff last night like, hey, this is the first time I've watched in a while. This product is great. Hey, I don't normally watch every single game, but if it's like this, I'm going to start. That is, you talk about, rebuild and reboot. And then so many people around here think that when you do that, you have to sit on the sidelines and suck for 5 years. There's some sort of process, there's something really noble and stinking year after year to build and get back to where you are. Let me tell you this. It is just as noble if you're able to do that, but expedite the process, not have people wait on it. And that's what the Pacers are doing. That's what you hope. Now, it's different considering the Colts and their future quarterback's not actually out there playing. But the Colts are giving you a taste of something that you haven't had in a while that is completely unexpected. Now, with a team that didn't have a lot of expectations from a lot of us around. Now, the Pacers were different. The Pacers were different because they showed you last year where they were going with this build. They are different because they are now, you are seeing the establishment of an elite level superstar right here. And that played out in front of the NBA, a stand-alone game last night. And let me tell you this, if you like basketball, and I don't care if you're not a Pacers fan or not a Celtics fan, you maybe didn't have any rooting interest. If you like basketball, that game was juiced and was fun as hell to watch. That's how you felt. And there was an introduction. I don't even want to say reintroduction because it's been so long. There was an introduction. This is this Pacer team. Well, wait a minute. What about this Pacer team that's got the highest average in the league in scoring per game? And then people got a load of that last night. People understood or now understand what Tyrese Halliburton and how he plays and who he is. That was just an incredibly fun game, and it felt like a playoff game. It had nothing for me to do with the fact they haven't been, and certainly been successful in a playoff game in forever. It had everything to do with just the excitement. And you could tell, and I say this all the time, and people say, I think you're exaggerating, but you can tell just how hungry fans in general are for winning around here. Again, another reason why it is great. If you want to rebuild and reboot, do it. But don't tell me it's going to be a 5 to 7 to 10 year process. If you can do it earlier, you can be successful in doing it earlier. That is always going to be beneficial. And I think we can all understand if the Pacers can continue playing off that, because don't forget, there was some disappointment. It had not even been a week ago when I sat here on a Friday and just ripped them to pieces. Actually, twice last week because of that Portland game and because of the way that they played against Miami. It's because I expect them. They have expectations. I expect them to be better. I know that they're not going to play like that every night. I know that injuries are going to play a role. All these excuses will avalanche on me to tell me why this couldn't be the case. But I certainly have higher expectations than the type of performance you got a week ago Monday night against the Blazers, or earlier in the season at home against the Hornets or the Bulls, or that Wednesday nighter against the Raptors. And it's okay if you have those higher expectations too. And it's okay if you're reintroducing this product to a market that in large part has been in a holding pattern since Victor Oladipo. Since he went for this is my city to I don't want to be here anymore, and then everything got discombobulated with trades and injuries and all that. Or even going back to Paul George. This is something that not only, if for the first time around here you felt it last night, this is something that is real. For those of us that have been watching, you can watch that grow. And I thought last night, the nation, that would be NBA fans, basketball fans that were tuning in, everybody that covers it, everybody was watching that last night on a Monday. And I know you had competition with Monday Night Football, but everybody that matters in terms of opinions in the NBA, they were tuned into that last night. And I know in the first half you're thinking, well, this is not going to go well, but the third and fourth quarters that the Pacers served up for their home fans, absolutely incredible. Incredible and much needed. Seriously, I thought that was the most enjoyable game that I have seen in forever. I was trying to think in most recent history, some of those enjoyable games. You know, when you think about, for example, about a year ago this time, Andrew Nembhard knocked down that three that was a game winner in L.A. against the Lakers. You know, that was really awesome. But, you know, how many like me were actually up watching that at the time? Now, watching Chris and Quinn and JJ. Now, watching Eddie Gill. Yeah, probably not a lot. But this had an early window. This was a standalone. Had two games on last night, both at different times. And that's the product you got. And I want to see more of that in Vegas, no matter who you get, the Knicks or the Bucks. And I also want to see this. I want to see was it all about the atmosphere with that defense? If it was all about the atmosphere, I would suggest some of you that were there last night making a lot of noise, try to make that team defensively because they're going to need you. As they say, if you can bottle that, you got something. Seriously, if you can bottle that D, you got something. I know we saw it various times, guys, still being taken off the dribble. Jaylen Brown did it most notably. Now, Jason Tatum was being Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is, simply put, one of the best, if not the best right now in the NBA. And Jaylen Brown's not too far behind. You know, being able to dribble or not too far behind. And they were missing Porzingis last night, but that is still as formidable as you were going to find. And the Pacers late made plays. The Pacers late got stops. I just thought what you got in both the third and the fourth quarters of play, in terms of the hope, that was how you close a game. That's exactly how you close a game. You get a couple of stops late, knock down some big shots, 4-point play from Halliburton, 3-point shot from Buddy Hield. Aaron Nesmith is a guy that you look for that should be able to D. I think he gives it all up trying to D. I thought he did as much as he could most often against Jason Tatum. There was one fadeaway. I think it was an and one situation that Tatum ended up missing the free throw. It was from the baseline fade. And I do think that Nesmith got him, but I thought it was described right. It was almost like he got a little bit overzealous. He was right there. And he normally brings that energy each and every night. So you can do that defensively if Bruce Brown can do that defensively. And no doubt you still got to work on it. This is a massive work in progress. But last night was an outstanding night for that team, that organization, and this fan base. And this fan base has longingly been looking for something just like that. And I'm not expecting them to consistently look like that, but you certainly want to use that as a springboard. They're going to score. They are good offensively. But a springboard in terms of, hey, you know what? That knob that comes on at 3 o'clock says we have no solutions defensively. Clearly last night, they found when they needed it, when it was necessary, they found some solutions. Got in there with a couple of turnovers. Got the Celtics to play through some empty trips late. And that's tough, too, because both Tatum and Brown are just ready-made buckets. Yeah, you got to be thinking when Tatum puts it up, you're thinking wherever he's shooting it from, it's going down. You're also thinking wherever he's shooting it from, he's probably going to get the benefit of a whistle, which he did a couple of times, but I had no issue. I thought they said this on the broadcast again, both the Bally broadcast and the TNT broadcast, to where I thought that the whistle on both sides was incredibly fair. You didn't see a lot of jaw jacking, or at least to the point to where you normally see it. A lot of people have asked me if they believe that there is going to be a counter from the Celtics at some point because of that late three by Buddy Hield, and I would just bring this up. They were laughing. I was watching that game. 150 plus. You take a 50-point beating, and everybody's laughing in Boston. That sideline's laughing, putting guys in, and they're laying it up and scoring. It was just a big scoring and a big embarrassing party for the Pacers. So, and I know that that's not normal protocol, and I know everybody always got on Lance when he did it, but when Buddy Hield did it, I didn't really care. I thought, man, this team put up a $150 plus on you last time out, and they were all giggling and laughing on the sideline. I don't know if that was meant to be payback, but if it is meant to be payback, then so stinking be it. Because if you watch that game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that was incredibly enjoyable, especially the latter portions of the game. Once again, Pacers 122-112 over the Celtics. Now, this does compromise the Thursday show right here, of which I shall explain coming up in a minute. Now, I won't have a problem with it as long as the Pacers don't jack around in Vegas. But it does compromise this show, to which I'll explain in a minute. We talked about Halliburton's triple-double. Buddy Hield had 21, Miles 17 and 10. And I know he had 12 points. He had a couple of big threes. But this is what I gather. And you're going to say, oh, well, everything is roses. And, yeah, that's great. Yeah, you're right. This is what happens when you play that well. You get a win, and you re-energize the fan base in the process right here. Yeah, we throw roses at you. You're allowed to walk into your building, your practice facility on rose petals for the afternoon because of that. No, what I'm talking about is Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin fits this team and this place like a glove. No matter, he is engaged. You watch on the sideline, and most of these guys are the same, but you watch a guy like Obi Toppin, and I think we all kind of question. I know he scored 12 points last night, and you're going to go, well, you know, how great was he? He stays engaged. And what you heard when he came from New York was lottery pick, disappointing. You know, did not get a lot of run, had late season clock time, a majority of that when things are said and done against teams like the Pacers, where he went off a couple of different times for 30 plus. He was not getting major run with a team that was moving on with Tom Thibodeau and seemingly moving on without him. But he remains engaged the entire time. And then when you get his personality also seems perfect here for you. So I thought about that last night, even in terms of, 12 points and, 4 of 8. I think he was out there down the stretch. Neesmith was getting a lot of that time, and rightly so. But he fits. He fits here. And I know T.J. McConnell didn't have the game he had on Saturday against the Heat, but he is getting that time right now. Actually, a 1 of 5 wasn't great. Nembhard got a little bit of time. Nembhard is probably on the other end of that right now. And I thought that Mathurin had moments offensively. Mathurin had some moments on the glass, on the defensive glass, where it needs to be all hands on deck. I think we know that. But that's basically how Rick Carlisle rolled last night. Didn't see Isaiah Jackson get up, nor anybody else. Yeah, Jalen Smith obviously unavailable. And you get a 112, check that, 122-112 decision, the Pacers over the Celtics. As I mentioned later on tonight, if you're going to watch it, then so be it. But you've got another night of semifinal, quarterfinal round play in this first ever NBA in-season tournament. And we'll be watching the Bucks and the Knicks from Milwaukee tonight. The winner will take on the Pacers on Thursday. That's a 5 o'clock start from Las Vegas, which means a 4:30 pregame show with Mark Boyle, which means I've got an hour and a half. So if I'm going to get hijacked an hour and a half, I'm going to have to ask that you play incredibly well. Okay? Suns and Lakers also on the schedule coming up later on tonight, too. We've got a lot to talk about. You can jump on here at 239-1070. The email address is JMV at 1075thefan.com. Busy show for you. Greg Rakestraw, bottom of the hour. A little collegiate hoops. You got IU and Michigan coming up later on tonight. 93 WIBC, I believe, is the spot for that. Boilermakers, a big winner at home over Iowa. That game was not even close. I think the only thing you were looking for is at what point in time Fran McCaffrey was going to turn purple, which he normally does. Didn't take him very long, right? First half, this purplish hue began, and kind of the way that it is. He thought he turned purple with good Iowa teams. I don't know about this one right here. He may just go ahead and sustain being the color purple. Boilermakers big over Iowa last night. I mentioned IU and Michigan later on tonight. Indiana State and Northern Illinois. I did make a mistake. I thought Josh Schertz was going to be on today. We're going to wait for him and his guys to play that game tonight in DeKalb, and then he's going to jump on the show coming up tomorrow. I'm very happy for what they have accomplished so far. Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football gave us all reasons to have more of a conversation. I don't buy it. I still think Jacksonville is thoroughly in the driver's seat here. But when you watch Trevor Lawrence go down and then C.J. Beathard come in and do the mop-up duty to a tune of a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm kind of curious how you think, how you feel. It was almost like I found myself hoping that Jacksonville would go ahead and take it because you don't want Cincinnati here sneaking up from behind. And all of a sudden, this guy named Jake Browning doesn't look like what we thought he was going to look like. Last night against a defense that can be good, he did some things through the air that I don't think anybody thought he could do. And believe me, the one thing that they have still are the weapons to do so in Cincinnati. We're talking about Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Mixon coming out of the backfield. That is highly problematic. So I can't lie to you. It to me is an incredibly huge long shot that the Colts could actually, especially, I know the record is close, but especially since that Jacksonville is going to own the tiebreaker, being unbeaten against the Colts in 2 games this season, I kind of wanted to see what I thought may have flushed the Bengals down the toilet last night. Anybody else with me on that? Because I know in large part everybody still thinks that maybe they can't. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong. I just think the odds are more in favor. I'd like dismissing those in and around the Colts right now. Or at least not having them play a game of that level of significance as now the Bengals will coming up on Sunday. Yeah, I wanted to see some drooping chins. And unfortunately, you probably are going to get a re-energized group of Bengals with their backup quarterback. And that's coming up for the Colts this weekend. Michael Pittman Jr. is going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. He is always a fantastic conversation. He has solidified why the Colts sure as hell better extend him and pay him. He has been the heartbeat of this team. You have been able to count on him And he may not be the blazer on the outside that everybody talks about, but he solidified himself as the one right here and a go-to guy with the game winner in overtime on Sunday and a guy that you've got to ride. And certainly when pass plays connect, most often it is between Gardner Minshew and Michael Pittman Jr. We shall talk about that relationship coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus per usual in the 4, and Greg Rakestraw is going to join us coming up on the other side. Nothing to give away this week at all. I heard we got Red Hot Chili Peppers being announced, right? Bill Burr. What am I doing here? Who do I need to talk to about that? We got to get going. I have never seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so that is one coming up in 2024 in the summer I'm going to have to attend right there. Always very proud of Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, that album, and Mother's Milk. Nothing? Zero? Or did you find something right there?
We might actually have something to give away. I think they may have put this in here yesterday.
Uh-oh.
What do we got?
Am I talking some magic right here?
We have got TSO tickets. Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Okay. Just in time for the holiday season.
Yeah.
All right. We'll throw those out there a little bit later on, see what happens. I've never seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Is that where they play like hard rock, arena rock type of Christmas hymns?
Like rock versions of Christmas music.
Gotcha. All right. TSO for you. When is that show, by the way? Does it say right there?
Let me go back to the page here.
It should. Mentioned yesterday, too, Shaquille Leonard, who was at the game last night. Shaquille Leonard is now in Philadelphia, yes?
The tickets are for December 26th.
All right. 26th?
Yep.
Well, that's after Christmas.
Yeah.
An after Christmas celebration is what you're talking about right there. High ankle sprain for Trevor Lawrence. We'll see how that goes. Man, last night, if you watched that moment, it looked like he was done. Get back to that coming up in a minute. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. Greg Rakestraw is going to join us coming up on the other side. Inside the Lounge via YouTube Live, you can watch, listen, participate. The stream, the app, HD radio, and a big day. And I want to have a lot of Pacer conversation energized with you as well at 239-1070 coming up on the other side. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's Kevin.
Wireless.com for details.
The Ride with JMV.
We're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Brad Spielberger of PFF and Michael Pittman Jr. of the Colts coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Ben says that CJ beat hard. He knew that was automatically going to get a giggle out of me. Hey, Brian writes this, and Brian, I'm going to have to disagree. Brian says winning is cute. I think winning is much more deliberate in this case and necessary than just being cute. This team needs a change. Trade because we have good players, not just to get rid of someone. Yes, even Turner, LOL. I'm not suggesting they would not benefit from a new body or two at some point, but never, to me, winning is the thing that you're trying to do out here. I'm not going to come off like Herm Edwards, but that's what you're trying to do. There's nothing cute about it. It's just necessary. You always evaluate your team too, Brian. I just don't think this is the type of day. This is a day when you are allowed. Occasionally in sports, Brian, you are allowed to celebrate some things. It is allowed to be fun. Sometimes it's allowed to be fun, and today would be one of those days where sports and the Pacers and the NBA here, you're allowed to have some fun with it and not be pissed off about something. Seriously. So winning is much more greatly defined than being just cute to me. Although I will mention that you're always looking at a roster to see how you can improve, and that's what you're saying the rest of the way in that tweet, and that I would buy. But nah, man, winning's much better than cute. Ducks are cute. A Bull Durham reference. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Greg Rakestraw joins us. Hello, Greg.
Quality Bull Durham reference, by the way.
You like that, did you?
That slipped past me, and then when you said it, I'm like, wait a minute. That is a quality Bull Durham reference. Well played.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to see how this Hoosier team on the road in Michigan, because I thought they got off to a tremendous start against Maryland last Friday night.
Right, and which was good to see. And I would put Michigan in the same boat as Maryland, as I'm not sure what they are, kind of like the Hoosiers. I mean, let's face it, there's a couple of gold standards this year in the Big Ten. Obviously, Purdue is one of them, even with being beaten by Northwestern on the road on Friday night. I think Indiana is amongst the best of the rest. A friend of mine having lunch, and they says, who's going to make the tournament? I said, yeah, I think they'll make the tournament. I don't think that's in question. How long they're in the tournament, what their seed is going to be in the tournament, I think that's still up for debate. So, impressed by what we saw on Friday night. Now let's see them take on the road and see what they can do.
So Greg Rakestraw, who's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline, that's IU Michigan later on tonight. And if there was, ever an effort out there coming off a disappointing loss to Northwestern on Friday night in their Big Ten debut, it was Fran McCaffrey in Iowa that was ready to be trounced. And in West Lafayette, that's exactly what happened last night.
That turned into a just the wrong night in the schedule because I think Iowa knew the buzzsaw was coming after Purdue lost that game to Northwestern. And again, let's take away the usual negative connotation of you got beat by Northwestern. Hey, we're done with that at least for now. Okay, that is again a solid Big Ten team, and I think an NCAA tournament team up in Evanston. And it also shows you the difference in playing on the road and in playing at home in the Big Ten. Because, again, I think Iowa, much like Indiana, much like Michigan, Maryland, et cetera, I think Iowa's an NCAA tournament team. And it was jarring to look up, again, while I'm enjoying a little lunch this afternoon, I'm watching Big Ten in 60. I'm watching the freeze-dried version of that game last night, and I'm like, holy crap, they're up by 35 early in the second quarter. Yeah. That's not like Iowa Western. That's not like Waldorf of Iowa. That's Iowa. And Purdue led by 35 last night. Heck of a bounce-back effort by Matt Painter.
It's Greg Rakestraw is with us. The net rankings, what do they mean to you?
Not much, especially this early in the season. It is great when you see mid-majors have a good net ranking, like obviously Indiana State does. Yes. Purdue-Fort Wayne has a very good one right now as well. Honestly, as those, minimal couple of chances to play against the big boys, go by the wayside, you get in your league where if you're Indiana State, maybe you're playing teams that are between 50 and 200 for the most part. If you're Purdue-Fort Wayne, you're playing teams that are between 100 and 350. That number is going to kind of go down. So for the guys that are the non-multi-bid league teams, it's great that they're there now. The math will kind of catch up with them, and they're still going back to one-bid leagues. So it's a badge of honor for those guys now. It means a heck of a lot more for the Indiana, Purdue's, Notre Dame's, Butlers, et cetera, as we get into January and February.
I watched Indiana State against Bradley on the road in Peoria on Saturday, and they looked legit, Greg. You mentioned that last week. They looked legit.
Conwell can really play, and I think Conwell will like that system where no shot's a bad shot. And that's not meant to be negative. It's the way that Josh plays, or they're going to get you in volume, and that works well for Ryan Conwell. Swope can really play, and he elected to leave USI knowing he would not have the chance to play in the NCAA tournament, stayed in state. But again, everything on that team, the fulcrum point is Robbie Avila, because he is a big that can post but can also shoot. And again, I unfortunately, this is the old days of the Valley, where I don't think there's an at-large berth coming from the Valley unless somebody, whether it's Drake, Indiana State, et cetera, would happen to go, and forgive me, I don't know if they're playing 18, 20, or the full 22 in that league. I think they're playing 20, I think. So let's say a team were to go 19-1 and only slips up a couple of times in non-conference play, maybe then an at-large berth would go to a Valley team. But I doubt that will happen. So it's still about being really good for 3 days at Arch Madness. But to your point, can the Sycamores play? Absolutely, John, they can.
So Robbie Avila, I have a great deal of enthusiasm for him because I'm a big fan of guys that kind of come disguised. What I mean by that, he kind of comes in a disguise where he can easily, and I know that information now travels fast, and there's probably certainly not a lot you don't know about somebody you're about to play, but he still comes in a relatively unique disguise here at 6'10" and 240, and then once he gets out there, he just lays it on you.
Well, I am a member of the Rec Spec Ballers Club. It's been 30 years, but I will forever be a part of that group. So anybody that wears eyewear on the floor, they're okay by me, John.
Right. I got you. Yeah, it's just kind of the overall package. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, when you get matched up with dudes and they think, all right, so this is it. This is the guy that, went for 22 and 10 in Peoria last weekend. And then, by the time you're kind of checking things out, he's already in double figures on you and then making plays with the basketball off the ball as well. He's got a very unique skill set, I think, for Terre Haute, Indiana at Indiana State.
And now what I'm waiting on is for the fine people in Terre Haute to approach famous, well-to-do alums such as yourself and then say, hey, we're going to have you contribute to the Human Fund, and the Human Fund is going to Robbie Avila because it might take a little more bank to keep him in Indiana State for a third consecutive season. I'm sorry. It's just the way the game is now played. So I'd be prepared for a phone call from Sherrod Clinkscales at some point sooner rather than later.
Well, and you mentioned that, too. I was talking to Dusty May times on the air last year during their Final Four run and then off the air, and, there were calls coming at his guys when they were in their hotel rooms preparing for games. I mean, and for the fact that he kept everybody intact, by the way, they get Illinois out of Madison Square Garden. The fact they kept everything intact is still amazing to me. But, it absolutely is the Wild West now. And you're right. It's going to take a lot more than just in general terms to probably keep him around for his junior season.
There's a couple of ways I'd refer to it. This is the unabashed capitalism era. This is the Gordon Gekko era. Greed is good. Get what you can. There's also this really great SNL skit from the late 80s. Phil Hartman's in it, and it's called the All Drug Olympics. Everything is legal. That's the point we have gotten to in major, and in this case, even mid-major college athletics. It's all legal, dude. So time to raise some fat stacks of cash. You and Rowdy Williams, I'm banking on it.
He's an attorney over there, right? Rowdy?
Absolutely. His signs are all over town. You guys, First Bank, the whole 9 yards. Get to work.
He puts that thing on like either side of the train tracks in downtown Terre Haute, which is great because you got to sit there and stare at it for about 20 minutes. A couple of times a day.
And there's also symbolism, depending on whatever side of the tracks you're from.
Yes.
He is your guy. It works on multiple levels.
Like Greg Rakestraw's on the Indy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Butler 6-2. How much of a surprise is it? Dogs get Buffalo tonight, Saturday back at Hinkle against California. Your thoughts on what Thad Matta has cooking at Hinkle so far this year?
A little bit of a surprise from where they were. Not at all a surprise because, this just in, Thad Matta can really coach. And again, Butler figured out, hey, the dudes we had last year, it wasn't working. So let's completely start over. And while people may say, hey, that's not the Butler way, they're not recruiting the Indiana kids, it's not 4- and 5-year guys, I would point to the last 15, 20 years, there's usually been a really good transfer or two on that Butler team even before you could play immediately. I mean, Brandon Miller didn't start his days at Butler. I think back to there's somebody, Robish wasn't a guy that started his career at Butler. I can keep going. Avery Woodson of recent vintage, Rodney Clark, et cetera, et cetera. Butler was transfer friendly before it became where you could do that and bring in 10 new players. So they've made a jump up. Again, are they a tournament team? Well, obviously being in the Big East, they'll have their opportunity to prove that and make their way back. But clearly they have made a tremendous amount of progress in a short amount of time, which in one sense is surprising, but a couple, three other fronts, it really shouldn't be at all.
By the way, Michael Lewis's squad in Muncie 6-2. They're on the road at Detroit Mercy, I believe, coming up. Yeah, that is tomorrow evening. But 6-2 for them. Bellarmine was a win, and then you go back to Little Rock where they were on the road. It didn't have much luck down in Arkansas, but I'm assuming you take that 6-2 start if you're Michael Lewis up in Muncie, don't you?
Yes, you do, and a trip to Callahan Hall shouldn't be too scary. Detroit Mercy, even when Mike Davis' son was playing, and Antoine, who was a great kid and a heck of a ball player, they weren't that great around him. Probably not all that good this year either. So I think Ball State should come home 7-2 after that game up in the heart of Detroit.
And then keep in mind, when you get the Boilermakers in Arizona up here on my birthday, December the 16th, the same day, mind you, you get the Colts and the Steelers at Lucas Oil Stadium. You get a 145 gathering between Indiana State and Ball State there as well.
That's a heck of a way to celebrate your birthday. So I'm assuming you want me to switch the shows? You want to do the post-game show?
No,
pregame?
No, I don't. I don't.
You don't?
You know me in the post-game show. I don't want any part of that, so no.
I thought,
with due respect to you. With due respect. Yeah, I don't want that, so yeah.
I got the Jags and Lindenwood at noon. I probably could have done anybody, but it was the thought that counts.
What you got going on this weekend?
This weekend, I have the Forum Tip-Off Classic. So we have all 6 games on ISC, the last 2 games on MyNDTV. The last 2 games will be Lawrence North and Fort Wayne at 7, followed by Kokomo and Fishers at 8:30. Obviously, the Kokomo story, I'm not sure needs to be said at this point, but credit to Garrett Weiniger and Fishers. Without Jalen Harrelson, they are 5-0, and they've got some really impressive wins. Great field down there. I saw Center Grove last Saturday, even in defeat against Addicts. I was very impressed by their group. They have 6 seniors. They're tough. They're physical. They're going to be a tough out in the postseason. Noblesville, Addicts, Garin Catholic, Heritage Hills, Greenfield Central to see Braylon Mullins. I'm now of an age where I'm covering the very talented sons of the players that I covered when they played at IUPUI. So whether it's Mullins at Greenfield Central, Noah Smith that is at Plainfield. I consider their dads great people and good friends. So I've hit that middle age, John. I'm going to see how much the Suns game compares to their dads when I called their days early in the Jaguar days of Division I.
So at Southport, too, in that tip-off classic, I believe Sicily, right, in Heritage Hills, they're up here, too?
Correct. So they play Garin Catholic, and that's the 3:40 game, the third game of 6. And obviously that could easily be a semi-state game in 3A. I don't think that Trent has the talent around him his older brother did when he was at Heritage Hills, even though it is still a very young team. That is largely sophomores and juniors that is on that Heritage Hills roster. We had them this past week. They beat Evansville Christian in the first game at Brownsburg. They're playing the third game up here, And again, that game probably goes a long way in terms of what the 3A postseason might just look like, with Gary and Catholic being the runners-up and returning a lot from last year's state runner-up team in 3A.
He is Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and let the records reflect that he is just great doing the post-game show, and I'm incredibly comfortable doing the pregame show. And let it stand.
I would offer for your birthday party, but hey, no worries, buddy. All good.
Appreciate you, man. We'll talk again.
See you, dude.
It's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. IU Michigan is a 9 o'clock tip time tonight from Ann Arbor, by the way. Brad Spielberger after 4. Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver, Colts in the 5 o'clock hour. If you're on hold, I'll get to you next. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
David Letterman! Hi, David. I'm Grandpa.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw podcast, 1075thefan.com. Look at Clodfelter is back. Sam, thank you for listening. Hey, John, agreed that Gainbridge had one of the best atmospheres I've seen in years last night. If you were down there, you can let me know too, because it translated. It was impressive. I know it's a lot of stuff for some of you hard asses out there go, well, you know what? It's not necessary. This is what we have to have. You know what? It was a night in December that this basketball franchise, this team, and its fan base needed. And I don't care what you say, it was an eye-opener to everybody, and everybody was watching it. If you're an NBA fan or covering the NBA, you were watching it last night. And for most, if not close to all of them, it was an introduction to this Pacer team. It was a grand first impression for many. And we talk about it all the time. I mean, hell, I just ripped them apart twice last week. Good night for him last night. Jonah's at 239-1070. Jonah, welcome to the show.
Hey, JMV, how are you?
Jonah, great to hear from you. What's up?
I have a Pacers and a Colts take, and I'm going to try to get this as quick as possible.
You got it.
I don't know why anyone's discrediting this Pacers win. It's a win. It's a win in the win column against the best team in basketball. Like, if that's being cute, then let's be cute all year.
No question. Yes.
Now, so since we played the Celtics in a regular season game, does that take away one of the future games that we host the Celtics?
I think it just is. Yeah, I don't know. Just look that up and see if it does. I don't think that it does, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. See, that's what confused me.
I think that it is. It's just part of their schedule as of right now. So yeah. So I don't think that it does. I'm not quite sure. I could be incredibly wrong about that. I think we got the lowdown last week when JJ came on and he talked about it in its entirety. I don't think we hit on that, but I could be wrong. Go ahead.
On the Colts side of things, I actually like that Cincinnati won last night. Now, I know that high ankle sprain with Trevor Lawrence is huge, but no one talks about this. I just looked this up. Christian Kirk is out for the rest of the year. He's going to undergo some surgery.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And, that talk about two losses right there, two big losses on offense. And I saw Cincinnati's schedule. It's actually really, really tough from here on out. We got the Colts, they got the Steelers, the Browns, the Vikings, and the Chiefs. And you can't really control what Jacksonville is going to do from here on out, but you can control two games in the AFC North, what the Colts can do there. And I just think that if you can put away Cincinnati this week, that's going to be huge. And right now, I mean, you weren't talking about this 24 hours ago, but with the loss of Kirk and who knows how long for Trevor Lawrence, I mean, the AFC South is wide open, whether it's the Colts or the Texans.
And, Jonah, the reason why I brought this up, and I would rather have had Cincinnati lose, is because I wanted a deflated Bengals team, that possibility this weekend. I don't want coming off that magnified high of Jake Browning throwing it everywhere and a newfound enthusiasm for a team that's still firmly in it in the AFC. That's why I was thinking that would have been better off Jacksonville had won.
I get that. And what Browning did, that's hard to sustain. I mean, that was a game. And that was also bad defense against Jacksonville. But you know what? Grover Stewart's back, and we got hopefully Juju Brisswood back. But I like to see our defense at full strength go against what they just did, and if they can come out with a convincing win, I mean that's just momentum carry on forward. Go to the Steelers game. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited for it.
You got it. Hey, Jonah, by the way, too, in closing, that's just another added game to the schedule right now. They still play the same with the Celtics. Yep.
Oh, okay.
There you go. They now play them 5 times, Jonah. Thank you. 2 more at home and 1 in Boston. And the same holds true with the Knicks and the Bucks. Will just be an extra game against either, depending on who the Pacers end up getting. That's Jeremiah Johnson, a friend of the show from Bally Sports, Indiana, Pacers TV, listening in out in Vegas right now. Appreciate that. Your calls, Brad Spielberger, PFF, and Michael Pittman Jr. on the other side, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Here on The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Now you listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Now go away.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Inside the lounge via YouTube Live, everybody. Got conversations going on about a variety of things. I would suggest you get in there. The company is good, as usual. Shout out to Gritty and Peaches and Uncouth and some of the headliners inside the lounge via YouTube Live. Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier, that podcast at 1075thefan.com. Josh Schertz, Indiana State's head coach, if you're looking for him today, that is going to be tomorrow. Sycamore's on the road at Northern Illinois tonight. IU on the road at Michigan. That is a 9 o'clock tip time. And Butler has Buffalo at Hinkle Fieldhouse later on this evening as well. Michael Pittman Jr. joins us in the 5 o'clock hour, too. Your calls on what was just a sensational atmosphere, and really game in general for the Pacers last night as they move on to this first ever in-season NBA tournament. They match up with the winner of the Knicks and the Bucks. That is tonight, and that's going to take place in Las Vegas on Thursday. Now, again, I'm going to hold them to a level of high expectations, considering I'm getting like an hour and a half of my show hijacked for it. But I'm good as long as they play well. We'll have to rip them if they don't. This is the way that it goes. Last night was great. I thought the crowd, if you were in that crowd last night, salute. Outstanding. And the game, the third and fourth quarters the Pacers had, and then Tyrese Halliburton to close. They got some stops. They can play defense. Now it makes you think, how much of this is want to? Because we actually saw it against arguably the best team in the NBA last night in the Celtics. Yeah, I know. Tatum got 30+. Brown got 30+. But you saw those defensive stops, and oftentimes in closing a game, that's exactly, really not even oftentimes, all the time, that's what's necessary in closing games. Yeah, especially when you continue to score, which they did. Now, they freaked me out from the free throw line a little bit, 3 different times. Splitting 2. You would like to see that be absolutely no doubt. But defensively, a couple of stops. 122 on the board, held the Celtics to 112, and you will take that every single day of the week defensively with this group. Back to that in a second on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I know you guys are waiting on hold, too. We'll get back to you guys in a second. But from PFF, Brad Spielberger joins us. Hey, Brad, I got Michael Pittman Jr. calling in here in the 5 o'clock hour. What's been your, and by the numbers, the PFF impression on Michael Pittman Jr. thus far this season?
Yeah, it's a tough act to prepare for, to set up with him coming on. So hopefully a decent opener for Michael Pittman. But,
you are setting the stage for Michael Pittman Jr. right here. You're the opening act.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable what he's done. You look at the last, since week 8, which includes a Colts bye, Pittman is the 3rd most catches in the NFL, stacking up against a bunch of players that played in every week over that span. And I think the big thing you're seeing from him now is, we know he's one of the best possession receivers in the NFL, can create separation, get open, or even just have those contested catches, make plays over defenders. But now you're seeing some more explosives. He's had more missed tackles forced over the last 6 weeks in the first half of the season. Obviously, the key touchdown to win the game in overtime. It's not just moving the ball down the field now. He's also giving you those chunk plays, those game-defining, game-winning moments. He's been exceptional.
Yeah, it's too. He's not obviously known as somebody that's got a great deal of speed, but he does fight you. He fights you and brings a level of physicality that oftentimes you kind of wonder. He just out-battles guys. It's not like some of these guys defensively, Brad, are in position. He'll just battle you for that football, and more times than not will win it.
100%. Right. No, and that is the thing, is you're going to have that big frame, 6'4", 225-pound type frame, But I think the key is you also might think, okay, is he only a contested catch guy? Is he going to struggle to create separation, kind of like a Devontae Parker type or whatever name you want to throw in there? And he has to win so many of those 50-50 balls, the old adage, they're 80-20 when they're thrown my way, whatever. That's a tough way to live, especially in today's NFL. And I don't think he's that. Look, he's not, the shiftiest, greatest separator in the world. And like you say, he's not the fastest guy in the world. But I think he is a good route runner. He's a very good release package at the line. So even against press, he's able to create separation, maybe lower his shoulder into a defensive back and push that guy off of him on his route stem. But also, I think he's been breaking off routes crisper. I think you see fewer wasted steps and wasted movement from him on comebackers and out routes and things like that. Like, he's always been good. I think the nuance and some of the details in his route running, at least personally, I've seen taken to another level this season.
To Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus every Tuesday right here in the 4 o'clock hour to give you the numbers you need to know. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And we mentioned the 11 catches and over 100 yards receiving with that game-winning touchdown. But also we're starting to see Alec Pierce work a little bit. I mean, 3 receptions and I think 6 overall targets, 100 yards. He had a touchdown. Is it just as simple as, all right, Gardner Minshew, the quarterback, is now starting to get the ball in his general vicinity? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's honestly more of the latter. Not to take away from anything Gardner Minshew's done, but we probably talked about it. I was super, super excited for the combination of an Anthony Richardson and an Alec Pierce because of, obviously Richardson flick of the wrist can throw the ball 70 yards downfield, and that is Pierce. He's not a separator, probably one of the bottom of the guys in the NFL for us in terms of separation per route. However, he has good straight line speed, and he can make those acrobatic, go up and get it type snags down the field that I thought we were going to see a ton of as Richardson got more and more comfortable. So now maybe Gardner Minshew has that built comfort, that built chemistry and trust with Pierce to say, you know what, I don't maybe see him as super open, but I trust that if I throw it up, Pierce is going to be the one to come down with it and make that play. And you saw that pay off in this game. I hope he continues to do so because that is his skill set. Going back to Cincinnati, he wins in that way. I think he's going to continue to do so. And if you're, in a battle, in a game like this, trailing for most of the game, and you need that splash play to get you a massive 50-yard gain or a touchdown, Pierce is that guy, and it was great to see Minshew trust that.
All right, well, speaking of Gardner Minshew, Brad, the 26 of 42, 312, no interceptions, which is a big highlighted column right there, and 2 TDs. How has he looked up until this point? Because I talked about this yesterday as being akin to a roller coaster ride with this team this season and with its backup quarterback in for Anthony Richardson because he's out obviously with that injury. Has it been a roller coaster ride, and what do the numbers dictate as far as where we are with Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback with the Colts to this point?
Yeah, it has absolutely been a roller coaster ride. I think you just watch him on a week-to-week basis. There still are issues with footwork and happy feet a little bit in the pocket or, bailing from some clean pockets at times or just not having his feet set because he's kind of chopping too much and kind of bouncing around a little bit, which probably does maybe help him avoid some sacks and things of that nature. But I think maybe windows open up, and because his shoulders are not square to the target and his feet are not set, maybe he's a half step late, and it causes some issues. But I think it was great to see what we saw in this game, which was, like I said, it's a negative game script. The team knows you're going to throw the ball because you're down for much of the afternoon. You don't have a Jonathan Taylor to lean on. Obviously, we've talked about Zach Moss, a good football player, but, Taylor's going to get you in a lot of second and short and third and short situations. The defense is also probably going to play you with more heavy personnel packages, maybe load the box more because of the threat of Jonathan Taylor. All that goes away, and you still have to produce in the fourth quarter in overtime. I thought it was one of the best games he's played this season, maybe the best. And yeah, the numbers I think do show he still isn't. He is putting the ball in harm's way a decent amount. Maybe even if the interceptions aren't there, taking some sacks where the ball security is not great, or throwing some dropped interceptions, things of that nature. I think that came way down this week against the Titans. I think he was, while throwing downfield, also more protective of the ball. A great combination for this game.
To Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus every Tuesday in the 4 o'clock hour right here, going over the numbers of Week 13 in particular with the Colts in that Titans game. And he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I do want to move on. Somebody had asked me this a little bit earlier. Last night, actually, I got asked this a number of times. I felt, at least to where we are positionally speaking, and Jacksonville having 2 wins against the Colts this season in that sweep, that would have been better off for the Bengals to lose last night, because that probably would have taken energy and a little bit of wind out of their sails for that matchup with the Colts and the Bengals coming up Sunday down in Cincinnati. And now you see the emergence of Jake Browning for 354 and a touchdown. You see an offense that looked pretty good yesterday against the Jacksonville defense last night in Jacksonville. What do you make of that? Would that have been better off for the Colts and its fans had Jacksonville won it, or as it stands, Jacksonville losing it in terms of position as far as the AFC playoff picture is concerned?
Yeah, I actually agree with you 100% there, right? Where the Bengals now believe they could sneak in as a wild card. I think, honestly, the way the Colts defense is constructed is actually very, very similar to Jacksonville to a degree, where it's a good run defense that has been susceptible in coverage all season long. They do have some talented players like a Tyson Campbell, even as talented as he is, should not be left on an island with Jamar Chase with no safety help over the top, which is how the first touchdown happened. But, I mean, that was a pathetic performance from that defense. Like, not to take away from Jake Browning, but 170-plus yards, throwing 10-plus yards downfield, was spreading the football around, was attacking you, and really, 32 of 37, 85% completion percentage. They got very little pressure, the second lowest pressure rate the Bengals have faced the entire season, behind only the Arizona Cardinals, who obviously don't really rush anyone. I agree with you. I think the other outcome may have been more beneficial, because I'll tell you, there's belief now in that locker room in Jake Browning, and hey, we can sneak in as a wild card. Yeah, we're not going to win the Super Bowl, but let's have some fun, build on, this good team that's made the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row. I see it the same way as you.
You just look at it, what they did offensively, on the ground with, a 5-yard average of 156, and then obviously what Browning did through the air. That looks more formidable, and now you've got a legitimate reason for them to come out and really try to give it to the Colts on Sunday, whereas you kind of want to know where they would be in terms of deflation had that game not gone their way last night.
No, exactly. Right. And you maybe also look at some players that are, fighting through injuries, a guy like a T. Higgins. Some of the guys on defense, Cam Taylor-Britt, did not play last night. And I still do think, every player's proud, wants to play, has reasons to play, whether or not their starting quarterback's healthy or where they are in the playoff picture. But, of course, they're human just like everybody else. And if they were 5-7 instead of 6-6, and their backup quarterback, played poorly and threw a bunch of picks and didn't have a lot of production, it's very different than a guy, going for 350, getting Jamar Chase involved, that massive key third down conversion to T. Higgins on their final drive. Yeah, he didn't have a big game, but made, one of the biggest catches of the entire night. Like, yeah, Joe Mixon, like you said, Joe Mixon ran hard, ran well. The rookie Chase Brown ran really well, I thought, too. Probably his best game as a pro. Like, yeah, this is a proud team that has high pedigree, that is very competitive, believes in themselves. They are riding high coming into this matchup, no question about it.
Brett, where are you in terms of the numbers and the percentage of the Colts being able to cash in and make the postseason? I know it's, according to ESPN, I think it's around 56. Where do you guys have it slotted?
Yeah, let me pull it up for you. I mean, the biggest thing for them is that I know we have them with one of the 5 easiest remaining schedules in the NFL. So obviously it's going to play into it, in a massive way, where just because of who you're playing, it's going to be easier. So we have them at 60% to make the playoffs now. I would imagine that is in part because of an update from last night to where we're not going to say Trevor Lawrence is out. He's still listed as the starter right now. But if Lawrence misses time, it not only increases the wild card odds we're talking about, but I mean the window to open the division is there too. If Lawrence has to miss a couple games.
Yeah, and then you get when you think about Cincinnati, and I think that's going to be a tougher close now for the Colts than even it was going to be. And it's not going to be easy. Nothing's going to be easy with the Colts. Don't get me wrong about that whatsoever. So Sunday's going to be tough. And then you come back on that Saturday at home against the Steelers, and there's going to be no Kenny Pickett there. And then you look around, the Browns going with Joe Flacco under center. There's just a lot involved that looks really good. And then in terms of if it comes down to the Texans and the Colts, you already have one win, and then you get the Texans at the end of the season, and you add in a couple of more teams, I believe the Falcons and the Raiders. I mean, that schedule, as you mentioned, it is doable for this Colts team, even if this Colts team has been up and down like a roller coaster most of the season.
Yeah, no, it's entirely doable. And I think for a lot of those matchups you just mentioned, so specifically if looking at like Cleveland or in Atlanta, the return of Grover Stewart now is massive, right? I mean, teams that are among the best at running the football in the entire NFL, if you can stop that from that offense and force those quarterbacks, a Joe Flacco and a Desmond Ridder, to be sitting there in second and long and third and long. We had Kwity Paye at his highest pass rush rate of his career this past Sunday with 4 pressures, 2 sacks, and a high pass rush win rate. Like, you're going to be able to win some of those swing games, against, Cleveland's also, a wild card team in their own right now. So, yeah, it lines up very favorably. Houston also does have a pretty soft schedule to close things out, too. Not as easy as the Colts, but certainly in the conversation. But, yeah, things are lining up nicely for Indy. It's funny. They lost their quarterback a long time ago. Everyone else in their schedule kind of losing their quarterback now. But, yeah, no, the window is wide open, and credit to Shane Steichen. I haven't said it enough. He should be, if they do make the playoffs, especially to win the division, he's got my vote for Coach of the Year.
What do you think he ranks up there right now among those getting, and I know conversationally he's going to come up every time, but in your position, where would you rank him right now in terms of that conversation?
Yeah, so I think he still would probably go to, like, the true contenders. Like, I think a Mike McDaniel is probably at the top of a lot of those lists. I think a Dan Campbell in Detroit is probably at the top of a lot of those lists. Guys that look like they're going to win their division, and teams that we probably view as, a legitimate threat to win the Super Bowl. I know Miami and Detroit maybe aren't in that, upper echelon San Fran conversation, but I think both of those teams are probably top 6 in current odds to win the Super Bowl. So maybe those guys are ahead of them. I don't see another name personally, that would be up there. Maybe Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, if they rattle off a bunch of wins and win 10-plus games, which I think they can given their schedule. But the only thing I wonder is there some trepidation from the voters to giving it to a first-year head coach after the Brian Daboll situation from last year and then flash forward to this year? There's been a bunch of that. I don't know if they're going to react to that or if they care on a year-to-year basis, but that is the only reason for me why Shane Steichen, I would give it to him. But I'm not going to, crown him a top 5 head coach yet because you got to see, can you replicate it? But everything that I've seen from him has been phenomenal.
Are we crowning the Niners the top of the NFL through 13 weeks? Because they once were there, and then they had, a 3-game losing streak, I think. Went into a bye week, came back, and then reestablished themselves. Are they back atop the NFL as it stands right now after 13 weeks?
Yep, in my eyes, it's fairly comfortably, yes. Obviously things can always change, and we saw the 3-game losing streak. You don't have a Trent Williams, you don't have a Deebo Samuel, the entire complexion of that team changes, and of course that can always happen again. And maybe you could argue they have more fragility, if they lose a couple of guys, particularly Trent Williams, who I think is by far their best offensive lineman. But anyway, yes, I do. I have more question marks in their conference. I still have more question marks about Philadelphia and Dallas. And then in the AFC, I think Miami might be the best team right now, and I still struggle to see them, if they play a physical press man coverage team like Kansas City, like some of the teams they've lost to, can they overcome that? Because rhythm and timing and everything they do pre-snap is so important to what they do. And if you can disrupt that and jam their receivers and all that, I'm not saying that they're a fluke or that they're, some manufactured offense. They're a good team, but I can just poke more holes in every other team than I can the San Francisco 49ers.
So Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus with us. Before I let you go, Brock Purdy, is he at the top of your list for MVP right now? 23 TDs, I think only 6 interceptions, 3,100-plus yards this season. Where is he ranking as far as MVP?
No, for me, he's not. He's probably not even in the top 5. And I'm not a Brock Purdy hater or, I don't think he's like a bad quarterback or a complete system quarterback. I do think there are moments where he is elevating this offense. He is driving a Ferrari, though. He probably has the best play caller in the NFL. He has the best weaponry in the NFL. There's no question about that. So he's been good, but I would have Dak Prescott ahead of him. Frankly, I would then turn to Tyreek Hill, as a non-quarterback. I think should probably be in that conversation as well. So maybe he's top 5. He's in that, but no, for me, he's not the leader. I just think if you watch him on a week-to-week basis, watch the film, he just has the best supporting cast in the NFL. He might win it. I don't know if I would say he's deserving. I'm not going to, be up in arms if he does. I just think there are other players that are elevating their team more than he is.
It's Brad Spielberger. What are you writing about at PFF?
Yeah, so I just put out the 11 pending free agents that have raised their stock the most this season, and a ton of free agency coming forward. Kind of a new look on how we're going to do it, some more comparisons to former players, kind of provide some context and some different ways to look at free agency. But I know it's a little bit early. I know the Colts are contending, so Colts fans are still focused on 2023. But we're going to hit the ground running on free agency these next couple months.
Yeah, this is just it's something that this fan base needs. This playoff push right now in December, and it's something that most thought would not occur, and you're doing it without Anthony Richardson, which is an incredible bummer, don't get me wrong, but also interesting because this is like a one-off situation here. And it's like, I hate to say it, it's like gravy, as they say. Nobody expected it. It's right here, so why not do it, even though you know that your future is not the quarterback that's doing the work for you right now. It's pretty amazing the way everything's broken down here.
It really is. It really is. And I don't think it's fluky, and I don't think there are a lot of elements to it that aren't replicable.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the change at quarterback, I really, really do believe that Shane Steichen has shown a ton of good, and I would have a ton of confidence going forward in this organization, in this coaching staff, and this team. So, yeah, I hear you. It is a bit of a one-off, a bit of a, you're not going to not every element of it are you say, we're going to carry forward to 2024. But, very well, winning games, getting playoff experience for a very young roster, all of those things, it does matter.
I agree. Hey, Brad, it's always a pleasure every Tuesday right here. We'll do it next week.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Colts and the Bengals, 1 o'clock coming up on Sunday. Colts pregame huddle. That means we'll begin at 10 a.m. Right here in studio. Actually, not here. In a different studio where we're going to be coming up on Sunday. I'm curious, though. This was asked of me a number of times last night. When you were watching that Monday night or after the Pacers win, were you thinking that you would rather have Jacksonville lose or the Bengals lose? And I know that probably the larger opinion is that of Jacksonville because you're believing that the Colts can track them down right now. I just think with the 2 wins already, I just wanted to turn my attention to the Bengals, and I just don't want that team as motivated as clearly they're going to be on Sunday. Now, you're always looking for edges, right? And that motivation of still being in this thing, and again, it's not like they have their starter out there either. Still being in that, and they have talented players that can put pressure in spots in which the Colts can struggle mightily. Get back to that coming up in a minute. Jeremiah Johnson of Pacers Television, by the way, James, bottom of the hour here. I believe they're in Vegas right now. I believe. Actually, I don't know if he is in Vegas. He may not be. He's around, and he was at the Fieldhouse last night. We'll talk to JJ. Bottom of the hour. Cameron is up next at 239-1070. Hello, Cameron.
Hey, JMV. Just 2 quick things I want to say last night. I was at the game, and I think Charles and Shaq, they mentioned it after the game, the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
It couldn't work out better for a team like the Pacers. I don't know if you talked about this. I'm sure you did. But just having a playoff atmosphere, especially I know Tyrese had mentioned it before. So that was one thing that I think is awesome about a small market team for the in-season tournament. And the second thing is, I don't know how many people are going to talk about it, but I think the turning point in the game last night, one of the biggest ones, was 3 minutes left to go in the third, and we only had about 3 minutes of McConnell. And I thought to myself, he has to come in here and spark something. And then I think Neesmith took a charge, and then he got a steal. And then him giving the ball up to let Buddy Hield dunk it instead of him laying it up to get the crowd going was one of the smartest, veteran savvy moves I've seen.
I thought Neesmith was fantastic last night in a variety of things. A lot of the intangibles that would be necessary for this team, especially defensively, and taking that charge was definitely, Cameron, I agree with you, a huge moment last night. There were so many too, and you're right about what they said on TNT, and that's part of what we're talking about here. I mean, it is just it's a first impression for many that cover nationally the NBA. It was a standalone game at that moment last night, and you can't beat it with the way that game went down, how enjoyable it was from so many different angles. And then to get that win in that fashion and have the Fieldhouse be cranking to the level in which it was, that's exactly how you would want to show off your product all the way around. That's exactly what happened last night.
Yeah, and shout out to the Pacers fans. Normally in the past, when a big team would come into the Fieldhouse, even like last year, Boston fans or Miami fans, you would see them a lot around. And I could tell you from being there last night, there weren't many Boston fans, and it's good to see, because Boston's definitely the favorite to win it all and this and that. So shout out to the fans. Thanks for the call, JMV.
You got it, Cameron. Thank you. Quick break, and we shall return. If you're on hold, I'll get to. And Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV, is going to join us coming up next. Michael Pittman Jr. in the 5 o'clock hour, and TSO tickets for the 26th of December. Holiday season celebration. Got tickets for you a couple of different times coming up here before the end of the show. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Like, I love seeing kids nowadays loving their dad. Like, Dad, let's go. Want to go play, Dad? Let's go ride bikes, Dad. Dad. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was like, Dad, run. Open a window. Mom, what did you see in that?
From his Netflix specials and F is for Family, Bill Burr, live. Saturday, March 9th, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Reserve seats on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Bill Burr, live.
Hey, it's Dan Dockage here. I have been on the Affinity Whole Health Testosterone Program for 10 months, and man, has it been life-changing. More energy to go out and do the things that at my age, 61 years old, I probably shouldn't be doing, like 36 holes of golf and then pickleball in a day. If you want to learn more about it, go to feelgreatindy.com and see what they can do for you. What they've done for me is they've given my active life back to me. Feelgreatindy.com.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
Royal Pin Entertainment is turning up the holiday cheer. Gather your friends, family, and colleagues for the ultimate holiday bash at Royal Pin. Royal Pin Entertainment is your go-to destination for holiday parties that sparkle. For a corporate event or family get-together, bowl your way into the holiday spirit with an event that's as magical as the holidays, with mouth-watering catering options and festive drinks, from holiday-themed cocktails to classic favorites. Act fast, though. Prime dates are filling up quickly. Don't miss out on the chance to celebrate the season in style. Go to royalpin.com or call 317-465-8484 to reserve your spot today. Make this holiday season unforgettable with Royal Pin Entertainment, where the fun never stops.
Royal Pin. Royal Pin.
John here for WeGrowHairIndy.com. That's 888-724-5129. Seriously, your real growing hair again. This is not a pipe dream. This is legit. Your options are there. Talk to Darren Andrews and find out which option best benefits you and your real hair growing again. That's 888-724-5129 or WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
Make holiday magic this year with something beautiful and timeless from Diamonds Direct. A stunning eternity band, a pair of classic diamond stud earrings, something new and eye-catching from a world-class designer, or maybe you're looking for that perfect engagement ring or a fabulous timepiece. At Diamonds Direct, we have the perfect gifts for the season, starting at around $300. Come and let our experts help you pick out that headliner gift. Or for some fabulous ideas, see the online seasonal gift guide now at diamondsdirect.com. You can even chat now with a virtual assistant for the ultimate convenience. Whether you connect online or in person, you're guaranteed to get the extraordinary value, ironclad warranties, and white glove service Diamonds Direct is known for. And to help make your purchase even more affordable, we've got special financing so you can spread out your payments. Get directions, details, special showroom hours, and our holiday gift guide now at DiamondsDirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
We're the Hellsberg Wedding Band, and this is for the lovers out there. We're gonna propose riding on a horse, wearing a tuxedo, shirtless of course. That Hellsberg diamond will dazzle her eye, and she'll say yes. Well, then she'll cry. Now put your shirt back on, guy. For over 100 years, Hellsberg has been customizing engagement rings of the highest quality. Plus, with Hellsberg's transparent pricing, you know you're getting the best price. Find her ring at a Hellsberg store near you or at Hellsberg.com.
The Ride with JMV.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, this is Wednesday, March the 27th. I just saw, well, actually, yeah, he said this a couple hours ago. I'm just now saying it, so I'm just now in the know. This is for Todd Meyer, our executive producer down the hall. The Egyptian Room at Old National Center. Adam Ant and English Beat. That is so up my alley. I have never seen Adam Ant. I have seen the English Beat, but I am definitely going to go see that. I've got to add Adam Ant to my resume. That's awesome. I'm definitely going for that. Again, Egyptian Room, Old National Center. Coming up on the 27th of March. That is a Wednesday, which works for me. Adam Ant and the English Beat. It's right up my alley right there. Speaking of concerts, the TSO going to be in town coming up over the holidays. I've got tickets for you coming up for December the 26th, so stand by for that. Michael Pittman Jr., top of the hour on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from Pacers Television. Jeremiah Johnson joins us. Are you on the road?
I'm on the road in Hamilton County, not in Las Vegas.
I wondered, because you guys are not doing this semifinal Thursday, are you?
That is correct.
Well, that super sucks right there.
I know. It was national television last night, but it was not exclusive, so we were allowed to do the game side by side. And for those that tuned in and watched, we greatly appreciate it. And this weekend, Thursday and Saturday games will be national exclusive. So Eddie Gill's there.
Yep.
So you can maybe catch up with him later in the week, as he does have the radio call with Mark Boyle. But Chris and I and Quinn will be stuck back here, but that's okay.
Chris has probably locked himself in a room. That's a bump. I know how much you guys love doing it, though, and especially taking advantage of moments like last night, and then getting that standalone type of game in front of the entirety of an NBA national audience. I love you guys, and you know that, but I just thought last night was worth it in so many different angles for this team.
It was great for the franchise, and you know how much work has gone into not just this season, but go back to when that trade was made, and I think everything had sort of been building for a moment and an opportunity like that. And it's a unique opportunity because so often in the NBA you think of a playoff series, and I go back to thinking, the last game that felt like that was Game 3 of that series against the Cavs when Bojan couldn't miss from outside the arc. And that was nice, but it advanced you. It got you a win in the series, but then ultimately you lost the series. So rare to have a knockout round situation, a win or go home. This kind of felt like an Elite Eight game. Maybe those years I was covering the Butler Bulldogs where you'd win the Elite Eight to get to go to the Final Four, and you have that joy for a couple of days, listening to what people around the country are saying about the story and the team. I kind of feel like that today, after watching and covering that game last night, and then getting a chance to see what other people saw, what we've seen really for all season.
So Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV with us. You know what else we saw last night that we haven't seen all season? I have said this all along, and I thought that I could dispute that last night, that this team didn't have an answer defensively into what they're looking for, into a great deal of help. And then last night occurred against a team that can put some points on the board. Obviously with Brown and Tatum, they both went for 30-plus. But the 112 and getting late stops, That's something that defensively has been a rarity if we've seen it at all this season. So that gives me a little bit of hope that some of the defensive prowess and raising of that side of the game can happen within that team. You agree?
Absolutely. If you're in a struggle mode defensively in January or February, you could put the film in from times in this game against Boston and say, see what you did against the Celtics. I don't know if the techniques or the schemes necessarily changed. I do think they made some adjustments before the game and then again at halftime. And you saw some individual defenders really just make life difficult on the Celtics. In the last segment, I heard you praising Aaron Nesmith. He deserves a lot of credit.
Yep.
But even a guy that you don't think of defensively, like Buddy Hield, I thought he was really fighting. And while he's not going to stop his defender in a one-on-one situation every time, the fact that the Pacers forced 20 turnovers, that can make up for a little bit of, sometimes maybe somebody gets to the basket. But if you get 20 turnovers, you're playing pretty good defense, especially against an experienced group like the Celtics. So this is something to build on. And it's Tyrese Halliburton. He smiled 3 or 4 times in that post-game press conference when Dustin DePere brought up the defense that was better. He'd been waiting all season to hear that, and he heard it, and he felt good about it.
Halliburton has been such a leader through all this, too. And I had a couple of rip jobs last week after the Portland game and then on Friday after the Miami game where I was incredibly disappointed because, frankly, I just have higher expectations. And I may have higher expectations than others, especially to the level of which I thought they played in those 2 games. And I loved what Halliburton had to say about it. He says, you know what? I want to win right now because I'm sick and tired of losing. And we all have fallen into so many different times of hearing people talk about, draft capital or, monetary leverage in terms of the draft and building for the future. And I'll be damned, JJ, there's nothing wrong with building for the future while growing and winning in the now. And that's what we saw last night. And I want to see more of that.
I thought of you on the post-game show because I know you're not a moral victories kind of guy. And you've been preaching that you can learn and grow while winning, and that's exactly what I thought. That it is true. No matter what happened last night, that would have been a great experience. But there's nothing wrong with having great experience be successful experiences at the same time, because I think it's easier once you win, you learn how to win, and if you lose a lot, you sometimes learn how to lose. And so I think that you make a good point. I know you've been repeating it. To the point about Tyrese Halliburton's comments after some of the losses, I appreciated them, but then I started to think, man, he's been kind of hard on himself because it's an 82-game season, and even the best teams lose 20 or 25 times in a season. But it was the way they lost to the teams they lost that he found unacceptable, and you do appreciate hearing that. You don't want someone losing to the Portland Trailblazers or they beat the Pistons, they lost to the Raptors, the Bulls, the Hornets. You don't want your leader to be okay with that happening. And so he took responsibility. He said this isn't acceptable. And even after that loss, that first game in Miami, a lot of the comments went viral about I'm tired of losing. It could get pulled out of context a little bit, but that shows he's not thinking about being good in 3 years. He wants to be good right now, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, completely agree with that. And I just thought last night that third and fourth quarter kind of spoke to exactly what I've been talking about. And I know that they're not going to win every game like that against elite-level talent in the NBA. That's not my expectation. But my expectation is not to stumble 4 different times at home against teams that I think you should roll up. And that was the unfortunate part last night. Last night made up, I felt, for a little bit of that disappointment I had leading into the game.
It did. I mean, it does feel like 19 games in, this has been some high highs and some low lows, and you don't expect to be quite the roller coaster in any season, but to be able to have those high highs is very beneficial, and I think it does give you hope for this season, the things that you've been talking about. And so you'd like to say, okay, you learn from some of the experiences the next time you get a lesser opponent, a team that's 13th, 14th in their respective conference. Next time you get them at home, you put them away and you don't have a loss, and we'll see what happens in those situations. But just the fact that in 19 games you can say you've already beaten the Bucks, beaten the Celtics,
gone on the road, won at Miami without Tyrese Halliburton. Those are just 3 examples, and we could probably go on and say these are things you hope to have maybe one of at the end of the season, and you're at the quarter pole, not even that, of this season. And you're going to get another opportunity to have one of those experiences coming up on Thursday against either the Bucs or the Knicks. And so the record, it's easy to say now that you should have 1 or 2 more wins, but no matter what happens this first 20 games, this team has grown a lot from the beginning of the season, and if they can just continue to get the experience and to continue to grow, you like where they might be at the middle of the season.
It's Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV, with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What would you compare being in Gainbridge Fieldhouse in the past to last night as far as the energy and how loud that it was?
Well, walking in and just feeling sort of the murmurs and the music and seeing the towels, it took you back to some of those playoff games when the team was making runs to the conference finals. I mean, I have vivid memories of that team and that atmosphere and that buzz that you felt from the opening tip, and it was very similar. Now, some of those fourth quarter moments, sometimes we can be a prisoner of the moment and we can forget about some of the moments in the last 2 years, because there have been some really good moments. And I mentioned that Bojan Bogdanovic game, and we don't like the way that the Victor Oladipo era ended, but there were some moments that were pretty special. You can't deny that. The game-winning shot, I think, against the Celtics, had one against the Spurs, even his first game back. That was pretty special. And so Gainbridge Fieldhouse has had its moments. In a big game, it rivals anyone in the NBA, and I've listened to a little bit of NBA radio today and even heard some last night after the game. People know in the playoffs that this is a place that is very tough to win. In the regular season the last few years, it's not been as intimidating, I think, for opponents. But if we can see more experiences and environments like we saw last night, it's going to be tough, and no one's going to want to come play here. And so, but right off the top of my head, that Game 3 against LeBron and the Cavs stands out as a similar type of experience. And then I guess I'll go back to some of those games in the 12-13, 13-14 season where it was every bit as similar, because it wasn't – even if you lose a game in those playoffs, you get another chance most of the time unless it is in an elimination game. That was to go to Vegas, and while no one knows what that's going to be like, everyone's bought in, and everyone wanted to be a part of that experience in that semifinals, and the Pacers were able to get there.
JJ, is there any concern that you go from just an off-the-hook environment Monday to an incredibly sterile environment, in an afternoon, a midday in Vegas on Thursday, if you're the Pacers?
I trust the NBA to make sure that it's not a sterile environment, but I honestly have no idea what to expect, and it'll probably be really good to talk with Eddie Gill later in the week to even leading up to it or after the fact to get a feel of what it was like, because when you hear Vegas NBA basketball, you think Summer League, and that's not the environment that we had last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And so I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm guessing they're going to figure out a way to make it feel cool. There are going to be a lot of fans there. I know they're continuing. Even right now, I got an email about selling some ticket packages. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. But as long as there are a lot of people there, they're going to be able to make it feel big, and I'm interested to see how it looks. But I don't know that anything that happens Thursday or Saturday could top what we saw last night, and that's across the board. That's people in California and Florida, people on the internet. I mean, they could feel it. They could feel the energy coming through their television sets, and you can't fake that.
Yeah, I know Sacramento had a good crowd last night, and then the Pelicans went in there and beat them by 10. When you look at the remaining games, who in the world is going to have a crowd in one of these matchups like what we witnessed last night?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Lakers-Suns game will be pretty high level of anticipation. That's the kind of matchup.
A big yawner, though, for both of those teams, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm not gonna put any of the games above what we saw last night, because as I've just mentioned, it was one of the best environments I've been in my time, and I can't imagine one being better. But I also think that there are going to be some others that try to at least come close.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, any preference here with the Knicks and the Bucks?
I'm for Knicks. I just want to get that rivalry going again. There's already a little bit of bad blood. I remember growing up always looking forward to those. And I even had a little Pacers-Knicks flashback last night. It was a 4-point play that went the Pacers' way. How about that? let's see Pacers and Knicks on Thursday. That's what I'm shooting for. And we'll see if Wally Zerbiak has anything to say. Let's get that rivalry going again. There was nothing wrong with that. Heck, they made an ESPN documentary about the rivalry. So that's what I'm shooting for. You already have to play the Bucks in Milwaukee next week. So just personally, you already have a win against them. I'm not super excited to play them 5 times in one season if you don't have to. So I guess I'm a Knicks fan tonight.
I would rather not have to see Miles try to check and get worked by Giannis too much, to be honest with you. That's my personal preference. I mean, I know they'll throw a lot of guys at him, I guess, but yeah, I'd rather not see that.
I saw enough Giannis shooting free throws the last time he was in Indianapolis that I don't want to see that either.
I'm going to tell you, the parade to the free throw line that is Jimmy Butler in 2 games in Miami. Holy crap.
Yeah.
How many of those are actually fouls? I mean, there's nothing there.
What I will say about him and the Heat is you're so scared to not foul him that yet you can't even touch him, because if he gets a hand on you, the reaction is such that he's going to get a foul called. So then they are getting, 2 feet of space when they shoot it every time. And so that's what made Saturday's game so impressive, is that he was at the top of his game. The Pacers were able to dial back some of the fouls. You'll never see probably as many as you saw on Thursday night, but it was a really good bounce back. And I think you almost had to have that Saturday to give you that bit of momentum that you needed coming into Monday night, because Tyrese Halliburton started the game under the weather, and the rest of the guys had confidence from Saturday that carried over into last night. So it was good to gain that split, and now to have 2 in a row and to head to Las Vegas, where I believe the team is right now. I think they're already there and having a practice as we speak. So the preparations continue, and the in-season tournament, a smashing success for the Pacers so far.
Yeah, it has. And that's what goes with winning right there, right? I mean, that's what you get from winning something. We'll view that around here as something. Hey, yeah, what a great idea, and then others probably go, whatever. So
that's true, but I do think it's captivated the attention of people across the country. I mean, even if the teams that are playing on Wednesday night, I think they were tuned in and watching last night, and they'll be watching tonight, and they'll be paying attention. And it'll be the kind of thing where in January and February, you might have a few more Pacers jerseys in the stands at some of these road venues, because think back to that Reggie Miller era. People started to see that team perform, and all of a sudden you got more fans across the country. So that's what made that night last night so good, and what makes this week so beneficial, I think, for the franchise.
I think Reggie's got that game 2 on TNT on Thursday, right? Not game 1, but game 2, correct?
He should be, yes. I didn't see the assignments, but I do know that the Eastern Conference game is ESPN. So
how could you do Pacers Knicks and not have Reggie be on the call for that?
Yeah, I know. That seems like it's a mistake, and maybe they'll wise up and they'll take one of those games down the road for a Thursday or a Tuesday night.
Yeah, Giannis again. I'm with you on that. I'm not too down with that, to be honest.
So you have a short show on Friday. Is that the case?
Oh, yeah. That's why they better play well, because you hijack an hour and a half of my show here. So, yeah, I'll be satisfied if they play well. If they don't, I feel like I've been screwed over.
Yeah, well, it's an unusual time. I actually do wish it was in the evening, but I think we'll figure out a way to watch, and I think we'll be entertained, because that is one thing. This team has been highly entertaining through 19 games, and I expect that to continue all season. So if you're listening to us right now and you haven't tuned in or you haven't taken part in a game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, just trust. You don't have to take my word for it.
No.
I mean, listen to people across the NBA. I mean, the Pacers are getting some attention, and they understand they have some room to improve. I mean, defensively, there's no doubt. They have to get better. But they do play an entertaining brand of basketball.
They do. I went on Black Friday, and my kids are still spending money from that trip right there. Good Lord.
Well, we appreciate your business.
Yeah, all I got was a Bloody Mary. Yeah, milkshakes, cheeseburgers, and everything was happening there. So good times to be had by all. All right. I appreciate you as always, too. And we'll embrace when Pacers TV is back on the job, JJ.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I've been walking up and down the stairs when I go from the court out to the set, and I've had 2 or 3 fans a night saying, when are you going to be on JMV next? So I think people enjoy this.
They do, buddy.
So,
they do. They like talking about this team. Yeah, everybody thought last week I was too hard on them, and I disagreed. But, yeah, I think they like talking about this team for sure.
Just like a coach that, sometimes has to raise his voice a little bit. I think you felt the need to raise your voice, and maybe the players were listening.
Hopefully somebody does here. Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV right there. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. Michael Pittman Jr., top of the hour. Do not go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
AbsoluteComfort.org.
The Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Halliburton will inbound, 5 to shoot. And he will get it into the perimeter. Catch, shoot, bang! 3 ball up top. Healed, and Indiana leads by 7.
That is Mark Boyle, the Pacers network right there. Buddy Hield got the bang. That was, I think, in honor of, if I saw this correctly, Mark's friend, Mike Breen, who is the play-by-play voice of the NBA for ESPN. The Not so much the downtown bang, but the bang with Buddy Hield, and that was a part of what put the Celtics away last night. 122-112, Pacers over the Celtics, semifinal round of what is the first ever NBA in-season tournament. And you can check out later on tonight. You got the matchup with the Knicks and the Bucks at 7:30. The Pacers get that winner. What's weird, you've got the ESPN broadcast, and again, that's coming your way at 5 o'clock on Thursday, which takes obviously an hour and a half away from me. Live at AJ's for you, Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. But it's weird because I think Reggie Miller's doing the TNT game, which will be the Western Conference semifinal winners, I should say. But the winner of the Knicks and the Bucks and the Pacers get the ESPN team. And again, that tip time from Vegas on Thursday is at 5 o'clock. If you're on hold, I'll get back to you, but you will not want to miss. Tell your friends, because a guy that has been outstanding for this Colts team this season is ready to join us. Coming up next, Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
911, what's your emergency?
Por favor, necesito ayuda. Está orando y creo que me va a pegar otra vez.
I will get someone to speak with you. Please stay on the line.
Hola, tengo su ubicación. Ayuda está en camino.
Indianapolis.
The Ride with JMV.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. TSO tickets, number 9 at 239-1070 right now for the 26th of December. TSO at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, number 9 at 239-1070. You're a winner right now. Greg Rakestraw, Brad Spielberger, Jeremiah Johnson so far today. Right now, you will not want to miss this on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, having an absolute outstanding season. Wide receiver of the Indianapolis Colts, it's Michael Pittman Jr. Michael, thank you for the time. How are you?
Good. Everything's great.
Hellaciously exciting game. Have you been a part of something that took place in Nashville as it went down on Sunday before?
No, never. Well, I've been a part of some exciting games, but an overtime finisher, that is my first.
Yeah, and to put the game winner in there, just all that led up to it. It was such a roller coaster, but as an end result, that really has to be nice. You look back on that and you get that road win, you get that in overtime too, and hell, it's probably a game that you're never going to see played like that before. I should say since, especially down the stretch in the fourth, because it's been a while since I've seen a game as wild as that ride was.
Yeah, I mean, special teams just played absolutely great, and they really kept us in there. And we had 2 block punts and one for a touchdown, other one down to the 15 or whatever it was. I mean, like, those are 2 like huge plays that really set us up to win the game, and then really to just have a chance. And then you have Alex play, which is probably the biggest play like the whole game, where he just goes deep on him and drags him down like to the 4-yard line. I mean, like, that was just a huge play for us.
So Michael Pittman Jr. is with us. Are we watching Alec Pierce kind of evolve for the good right before our eyes here down the stretch in this regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's always been that guy. Like, it's just like sometimes he doesn't always like get the ball, but like if like you watch him closely, like on film, more often than not, he's open somewhere. So, like, it's all about him just getting the ball more and being like a bigger role, like, in this offense. And I think by making plays like that, I think that is how you increase your role.
You look at him as a teammate and a fellow wide receiver. What is the first thing to you that jumps off the page as far as his skill set is concerned?
I would say the biggest thing that jumps off is like his character. Alec is like a very great he is a very great teammate, and he just wants to win. And then going to his skill set, Alec is probably the fastest receiver like on our team. He is very, I wouldn't even say sneaky fast, like he's just fast. So whenever he goes deep, guys don't realize that he is like a 4-3 guy, and he just runs right by him. And then he makes big plays like he did last game. And you saw more of it last year because he was just getting more opportunity. And I feel like this year it just hasn't been there like as much. But I think after this game, I think there's going to be more shots dialed for him.
So Michael Pittman Jr., the Colts, they get the Bengals coming up on Sunday down in Cincinnati. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So of the years so far you've been in the NFL, I believe this is your 4th season right now. Mm-hmm. Are you at the pinnacle of you being a team leader on this squad? Because it looks to me, and even beyond the offense, just looks like team-wise on the sideline, you're a guy that everybody looks to. Do you embrace that role, Michael?
Absolutely. I just try to lead by example and just show everybody the way that I do things. And I also follow the lead of other leaders too, like guys like Buck and Quentin and guys like that. So like there's a lot to it. I mean I'm just here to help us win. and just try to do the right thing.
When you look at the way that game ended, and it came to you, and that was the game winner in overtime, was there anything said in the huddle? Did you know, obviously, that ball was coming your way? Or is that just what you expect when you come out of the huddle most of the time?
Yeah, I was pretty much expecting that pass because we had practiced that, and we knew that they would pass it off. So as soon as he passed it off, I just knew that I better run to the back of the end zone as fast as possible.
You surprised defensive backs trying to check you with your physicality? They know that by now. Are they aware of this by now?
Well, I think they have a good idea of it, but, this is the NFL, so I think they're going to try it anyway. They'll try it, at least once a game, right?
Yeah. What do they try? What's the most common thing that they try to maybe get you off your game a little bit?
Nobody really tries anything crazy because I don't think they want me to get, to that level. Because I'm not a big talker, when it comes to playing, on the field now. Sometimes, I can get that way, but...
You're a responder. Are you a responder? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I am definitely a responder, and really, I think it's in their best interest to not get me to that level, actually.
So, Michael Pittman Jr., how much has Reggie Wayne helped you out as your position coach, Michael?
Absolutely. I think where Reggie helps me the most is he's not afraid to call me out on anything. He's so blunt with it too. He doesn't care, and just having guys like that who were great. They have that confidence where they can coach you up, no matter what you've done or who you are. So, it's always great, having him because he's going to tell it straight no matter what.
When's the last time he was blunt with you, and what did he say?
Let's see. I think it was last Monday or Wednesday, and we were talking about the film, and I had slipped on a stop route, and he was just that's effing trash. And I'm like, yes, I know, I slipped, it happened. So just stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? He'll just say it just straight up, that's terrible. That was the worst route I've ever seen. I'm like, all right, thanks, Reg. I appreciate it.
It's fun. Michael Pittman Jr. joins us. Some guys are built to the level where they can be coached up like that. Some guys aren't. A lot of guys aren't, in fact. Have you always been one of those guys to where if you're blunt with you and you're being coached up to that level, especially if you have the utmost respect for the person that's telling you that, is that something you can easily take in stride, the way that you're built?
Yeah, absolutely, because he doesn't do it in a disrespectful way. That's just how Reg is, and you got to know, you're coaches. And I've always preferred coaches to be straight up. I really don't like when they sugarcoat things and kind of beat around the bush. If there's some type of problem, I would like to know about it straight up versus oh, hey, we talked about this, but you really meant this. No, Reggie's gonna say it straight the first time. So, and I feel like I do well with that because one, I feel like I am able to dissect emotion away from football. Because if you're really trying to be great, you can't ride the wave of emotions. You got to be steady no matter what. No matter if you don't like whatever someone's saying, it doesn't mean that you gotta love it, but hey, you can take that and use it as a positive way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, especially when it's coming from somebody like that. You know what I mean? That's been down that path in the same situations, has played at a high level, and I think there are a lot. Maybe I'm wrong about this, Michael, but I think there are a lot more dudes out there that want to be coached hard than want to be ultimately coddled, because that is the way for a lot of dudes to get to where they want to be, to reach that potential, is to be coached hard, to be told that you're wrong about something, and not to come into this thing entitled.
Absolutely, and it helps to keep you like humble, like when a guy like that is coaching you. So I think that it's great, and that's just like his like style, and like you're right, like for some players, I mean, it might not work for some players like who don't have enough confidence to like deal with that type of stuff. But I think everybody in our room, like I think we all respond well to his challenges that he gives us daily, and then like he's always like just like he coaches us up like in other ways too. Like of course, like that's just one way that I highlight like his like realness and how he demands excellence every single day.
He came on my show once upon a time when he was a player and sang "Blame It" by Jamie Foxx. He'll never remember that, and if he did remember it, he would not own it. But he did once upon a time, and it was one of the more brilliant moments ever in the history of this show. "Blame It" by Jamie Foxx. He'll never own it, but he did it. There's no doubt, and we've got tape to show it back in the day. It was awesome. He's an awesome dude. I mean, he can reach you, I think. And you're just talking about somebody like yourself, Michael, that wants to be coached and coached hard. But I'm assuming he can reach most any level as a coach. And I think you and your group of wide receivers are kind of seeing that blossom, especially this season, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, he is in his second year coaching, so he's no longer a rookie coach. So I mean, like I've seen like his game change too, and like he's still like learning, and like I think that he gets better like every single day.
So Michael Pittman Jr. is with us. Is Shane Steichen sort of the same way as a coach? I mean, really no fluff, just kind of at it, consequences, responsibilities for your actions, all of that. Is that how he coaches you guys up to?
Absolutely. So I think it was like a good example of this is in training camp. I forgot to weigh in. I got fined the first time. I was like, dang, like, he's serious. And then I forgot the second time, and I got fined again, and like it got doubled. I was like, oh my gosh, like he means business. So he really set that like standard, and just like obviously nobody likes getting fined, but I think it set a good standard that it's equal for every player, not just some players. So other guys looked at that and they'd be like, oh, like just like he fined Pitt, like just like I better be like doing everything right, or else like I'm gonna get the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So like I think that it was great, like even though I don't like paying that fine, but I think that it was good for like everybody to see that he's not picking and choosing, that he's treating everybody the same.
How much was the fine, or the double fine in this case?
The first one I think it was more than double. Like I think the first one was like 500. The second one was like 2,000 or something like that.
Wow, he made an example of you. Well, yeah, you're right. Everybody else says I got to get in there now too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I did training camp for free this year.
Michael Pittman Jr. with us. Hey, did you get fined for throwing the football into the stands, or will you?
I haven't got that letter yet, but I have a strong feeling that I am going to get fined. And I thought the fine was less than it was, so now like I'm thinking about it, I'm like, dang, like $7,400, like maybe I just would have like held on to it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you scored a game winner in overtime to keep the win streak going, and I mean, a lot of good things are happening right now. So, I mean, is that just a moment where you go, yeah, you know what, I'll go ahead and take it? But I dig it because you're a guy, you're keeping track of your funds right there. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Good for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I definitely was knowing that I was going to get fined, and I was like, I don't care, I'm throwing it anyway, thinking that it was a little less, like, than what it actually is. But, I mean, I still would do it again, so I guess it's not that bad.
He is Michael Pittman Jr. with us. Is there any aspect of being 7-5 and right now among those teams in the AFC playoff picture in the 7-hole, any of this surprise you whatsoever? And again, given the circumstances of this season and, you know, the pitfalls, the roller coaster, whatever, any of this surprise you to this point, Michael?
No, I mean, obviously things could have went better, but football is football, and you can't really plan things out because you don't know like what's going to happen. I mean, there's so many factors, but I think we're right in the, in the heat of it, and I think that we're looking good, and if we keep winning football games, we're just going to keep jumping up and up and up, and that's really the only thing that we can focus on.
You know, what I really love about it, too, because I know that some made of, extension and, contractually and all this stuff before you started the season. And this is something that you just don't think about. You just go out there and play and let everything take care of itself. Not a lot of players can do that. You're somebody that can compartmentalize that aspect where it's, I think, different for a lot of other players who may have that thing riding on their mind, but that's not something you're thinking about at all, is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just kind of let that pressure just kind of fall off, and I don't really think about it too much. But now that you mention it, I'm like, I better play, I better play well, or else I'm gonna be jobless in a couple months. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be looking for a job. So, I'm on a 4-year deal, closing out my 4th year, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but all I know is that I'm here until I'm not. So we will see what the future holds, but I'm not too worried about it. I think if I keep playing the way I'm playing, I think it's going to take care of itself, and the good things are going to happen.
Michael, I'm here to proclaim you are good. So I think you're good. But I guess I shouldn't have brought it up.
That.
I was just trying to make a point that you don't let anything bug you other than going out there and focused. And that's a growth. That's an evolution. That's a maturity that not a lot of guys end up finding, but the successful ones do.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no use in sweating that, pressure because, you can't really do, anything with it. And honestly, I think that it's, a good thing because I wanted to be in, in, this spot, and I'm exactly where I wanted to be. Of course, things can always be better. I don't think I'll ever be a finished product. I'm going to try to keep getting better every single year, and just see where that takes me in my career.
Well, that's right here, or I'll riot. So I don't know if that'll do any good. I'm assuming that it will, but it better be right here because you have certainly shown exactly who you are and what you mean to this organization. And as we talked about a little bit earlier, man, we need to see more dogs like you and that focus, that single-minded focus on the task at hand, man. That is very enjoyable to watch. Now, what am I interrupting you from doing today? I apologize for that. Thank you for coming on. But in closing here, what are you doing today that maybe you normally don't get a chance to do? Anything at all?
Well, right now I'm driving home empty-handed here. Because I went duck hunting this morning, and it was the duck opener of the Southern Zone in Indiana on Saturday. So I waited until the day off, came in on Monday, handled everything I had to handle so I could have this morning off. And we see lots of ducks today. We saw a lot of ducks, and they just wanted to be over with the swans because there's this group of swans that live on this lake, and they never leave. and every single duck, I mean, they would circle us and just go right to them. I mean, it was the most frustrating thing, and yeah. So
are you holed up? Are you holed up in a blind? Are you in a blind out there in the field?
Right. No, so we actually just came from Waffle House, but we're headed back because we finished up around 11:30 because we weren't getting ducks to work our spread. We just didn't have an advantageous setup. It was just the water's low, the lily pads are high and dry, and you know, like it just nothing was working for us. So we tried our hardest. I actually blew out my goose call. So like my goose call blew out, like just like the reed just came right out of the call, which I didn't know could even happen, and I was like, you know what, that's a sign. Like, let's just get on the road back home.
So you can't? Can you not do one manually by yourself?
No, not at all.
I mean,
no, probably not.
Are there not those like boxes that you use and you rub them back and forth and kind of imitates a duck sound too? Or those? Am I just making stuff up here?
I think that's a turkey call, but I do have a box turkey call as well.
I got you. Now, where were you? You may not want to tell us exactly where you were, but where? Southern Indiana, Central Indiana. Where were you for this?
So I was in Southern Indiana. Indiana's not known to be a waterfowl hotspot, but you know, we got our fair share of ducks. But I've been looking for farms because obviously I like to hunt and I like to do stuff like that. Like I've been looking at stuff over in Missouri because there's a lot of good farms. It's right on the flyway, and they got some great deer out there. So that'd be great. Or maybe like Illinois.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, Speaking of bird, like I just seen a field full of sandhill cranes, but we have no crane season here in Indiana, tragically. But they're actually called the ribeye of the sky, and they're supposed to taste great. But I've never had one because there's no season here in Indiana, but I would love to try one.
Oh, my God. That's awesome. Hey, by the way, I have 40 acres of property in southwestern Indiana in Greene County, actually a little southwest of Bloomington, off of I-69 down there. My mom still lives on those 40 acres, and it's all woods, and it is a hunting mecca down there. I'm just not a big hunter, but everybody else around me where my mom lives is. So.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, like I think it's a chance to go like enjoy creation and being outdoors and like I just find when I'm outdoors, that's when I'm the most like relaxed and calm, and you're focused at like the task, and you can get so in it that like you don't really think about anything else, and that's me with hunting and fishing, and then just being outside, you know, like I love to be outside.
You take any teammates with you before?
I have before. So Desmond Patman, when he was on the team, I took him a lot. Ethan Fernia, I've taken him a lot. Some of the coaches have hunted in my backyard. One of my coaches, who will remain nameless, actually missed a 10-point buck at 20 yards, shot right over his back with a crossbow, which is like double bad. Like you use a crossbow and miss, like switch it double bad. But I'm not going to expose him because I don't want to do him like that. But I was just in shock, like I couldn't believe it.
So he wouldn't be happy if you exposed him on this show right now? Be unhappy because he's not a good shot? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, no, like I just can't do it to him.
Man, you're always an awesome conversation. Absolutely enjoy it. Congratulations on the fantastic season so far, and continued success. And we shall do this again too. If you ever need any, especially in Southern Indiana, you can tell Connie this, and he can get a hold of me. If you ever need, because 250 is what my wife's mom owns down in Owen County. I've got I've got properties everywhere here, so if you ever need someplace you want to try out again in southwestern Indiana, you let me know.
I think now that you offer that, I think we might have to take you up on
Seriously,
that.
man. Seriously. You tell Conti, and Conti can get a hold of me, and I'm assuming we can pretty easily get you set up, so you let me know.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, you have a great rest of your day off, and we'll do it again soon. Best of luck in Cincinnati Sunday.
You too. Thank you so much.
It's Michael Pittman Jr. on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. That was awesome. I see, and I talk about this all the time. I come from Greene County, 40 acres. My wife's family has 250, I think, in Owen County, and everybody around me has all this acreage, and everybody around me hunts, and I never have in my life, not once. And it just doesn't interest me. It just doesn't interest me. Now, I think right now, what are we in, guys? You can help me out, you hunters out there. And I know he was going waterfowl. I don't know anything about that. Seems like he was hunting some savvy ducks. But you've got deer season, I believe. Is it bow season right now? They just made a transition from shotgun to bow season, I believe, I think. I don't know. Michael Pittman Jr. is awesome and having a fantastic year. And the extension shall be on the way, of which he is not sweating in the least. 239-1070. You and me coming up on the other side. We'll get you set for tomorrow's show as well, coming up here. You got IU and Michigan later on tonight, too. I don't want you going anywhere. 93.5 and 1.
On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Joey, have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw, Brad Spielberger, Michael Pittman Jr., the podcast. 1075thefan.com. Great work today inside the lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you all for watching. I'd love to see you AJ's on Thursday. And as it stands, that's a Larceny Bourbon Locks Luna Azul Tequila Shots coming up on Thursday at AJ's over off of Fall Creek Road. You guys know what I'm talking about, Northeast Side? Me and Brent Halverson are betting analysts. But remember, because the Pacers, they tip it up at 5 o'clock in Vegas in that semifinal of the in-season tournament of the NBA. Get the winner of the Knicks and the Bucks tonight. That's on Thursday. That tips at 5. That means pregame is here at 4:30. That means I go from 3 until 4:30. I think you guys know me well enough. If I'm going to do a show, I want to do a show. So if I'm going to get hijacked 90 minutes, then I need a superior performance from the blue and gold. That's what I'm looking for on Friday. But you can still, I'm going to watch the game. We'll hang out afterwards, too. It's not like I'm going to go anywhere. That is at AJ's coming up on Thursday. Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. You know what that means with Brent Halverson, too, right? Big-time samples. That's what that means. But we are off at 4:30 on Thursday. And then on Friday, Coaches Downtown, that's a Bud Light Blue Friday. We'll have Steelers and Colts tickets to give away. Coaches Downtown, again, that is coming up on Friday. Tommy S., we're coming for you on Friday. All right, things to watch later on tonight. And I mentioned, too, Butler and Buffalo, Hinkle Fieldhouse. Got IU Michigan at 9 o'clock from Ann Arbor. And if you're keeping track, and you probably should, the winner of the Knicks and the Bucks, and it's kind of weird, right? Because that early game in Vegas is an ESPN broadcast. Now, the late game in the West is going to be a TNTer. Now, I think Reggie Miller is a part of the TNT, and who among us would not absolutely love, if that were to be the case, and evidently it is not, a Knicks and Pacers semifinal in Vegas with Reggie Miller a part of the broadcast team. But I think TNT's got the Western Conference semifinal, whereas in the East, that's the earlier game. Knicks and Bucks winner, that's on ESPN. And again, we talked to Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV, Bally Sports Indiana earlier, and if they make it to the championship and certainly the semifinal, that is exclusive rights of ESPN and TNT, whereas last night wasn't exclusive. You could watch both the Bally broadcast and the TNT broadcast. On Thursday, that is not the case. That will be ESPN exclusive for you if you are keeping track at home. But man, that'd be pretty neat, would it not, if Reggie Miller on the call with the Knicks and the Pacers, but unfortunately, that is not the case. All right, I'm looking here right now. The latest from NFL.com, and it's 34 million Twitter followers. The Colts are a 6 seed right now. If the season ended today through Week 13, the 1 seed in the AFC would be the Miami Dolphins. The wild card round would consist of the 7-2 matchup, the Browns and the Ravens, the 5-4 game with the Jaguars and the Steelers, and the 6-3 game as of right now would be the Colts and the Chiefs. Still in the hunt, and I guess on the outside looking in right now would be the Houston Texans. They're the 8 seed. The 9 seed would be the Broncos, the 10, the Bills, and the 11 would be the Bengals hanging in there. And that's, of course, the matchup for the Colts coming up on Sunday. James, great job out of you. James going on vacation. He's going to the Keys.
Yep, should be a good time.
All right, go down there. Keep your clothes on, okay? No grape smugglers in the Florida Keys.
I'll do my best. No promises,
No smuggling stuff either, all right? Rakestraw, Spielberger, Michael Pittman Jr. Podcast 1075thefan.com. In studio with you again tomorrow, beginning at 3. 93.5 and 107.5.